Asmongold is the equivalent of a person who like shits himself in a crowded area, only to turn around and go, haha, you guys are smelling my shit. You are owned. You are owned by being in my presence. Andrew Tate has had unimaginably damaging consequences on American political discourse for an entire generation. I track online radicalization specifically on the right. There's the Gamergate era. There are the centrist gamers who turned far right. That was a big deal. After rapid radicalization from the initial skeptic community that was built under the George W. Bush administration. George W. Bush administration skeptics, early era online commentators, like first online commentators, quickly turned into, after shitting on George W. Bush for being an evangelical Christian, they very quickly turned into like Islamophobic weirdos under the Obama administration, partially because Obama was black too. That played a role in this. And they kept saying, all these atheist YouTubers kept saying like, Obama is too kind to the Muslims. He needs to be way worse to the Muslims. Okay, Obama was a great Muslim annihilator, for the record. It's not like he was kind to the Muslims, but because his middle name is Hussein, because he's black, rated atheists went crazy mode under the Obama administration and radicalized tremendously. Then came Gamergate, where that that coalition built. Okay, that coalition grew. It built on top of the Islamophobia, and it got packaged into the gaming, like the reactionary side of the gaming world, and through that process, you had at least like people that were seeking out, intellectual right-wingers. That formed the intellectual dark web, the Sam Harris, Ben Shapiro, the Weinstein brothers, all these people. They were all trafficking in like, the wokes are coming after me and they want to do cancel culture. And they very successfully shaped an entire generation to believe that like every single person, every single version of like the online left was incredibly woke, and they all wanted to do cancel culture. They were all blue-haired SJWs. That's where all those memes came from. Then came the big wave, the Andrew Tate manosphere adjacent wave. That wave actually cast aside all notions of pseudo-intellectualism in the right wing, okay? No longer did right-wing audiences actually demand even a semblance, a crumb of intelligentsia or a crumb of intelligence. They didn't even want the facts over feeling shit, okay? All of that was cast aside for visually appealing aesthetics, bravado, machismo, I have a nice car, and I hate women, okay? I hate women. On the side, you had the COVID truthers that said COVID is both a Chinese bioweapon and also it's utterly inconsequential and you should just fucking raw dog it. But Andrew Tate came after that, right? Came after that wing. Now, the final formation of that is that the gamers are back. They were nascent for a while, but now they're back in a big way. Okay, the Gamergate era is back in a major way, and in the post Andrew Tate world, they are looking at even dumber and dumber versions of right wing commentary. There was that tweet that went viral yesterday that I think perfectly showcases like the differences in expectations from right wing audiences versus left-wing audiences. The Hasan Asmongold dichotomy is fascinating. The left's big streamer has a poli-sci degree and does real activism. Even then, he's pretty divisive on the left. The right's is a guy who played Warcraft and lives in rotten animal flesh who has something to say. Basically, Jesus to them. Genuinely floored how quickly Asmongold went from a guy they're unreasonably defensive to a genuine political thought leader. They actually worship this man who gags at the taste of water and sulks about women in video games not turning him on. Get their ideas from him. And I think now this is the new meta. I think there is like a unknown amount of hikikomoris living in the United States that spend every waking moment online. And now this is the new formation, the roach meta, the new meta of the online right, where it isn't even it doesn't even revolve around like discernible political opinions, but just pure cultural resentment. It's reactionary politics in its purest form. It is a simple mission of vengeance. Anything and everything that offends the sensibilities of liberals, whether it be literally like looking gross or behaving in a gross manner, that is seen as a virtue on the right. It's not even a revenge of the nerds. It's more so like a revenge of the grotesque, where being grotesque is now a virtuous thing, where it just showcases how real you are. Back in the day, being incredibly edgy and racist was seen as currency online, currency to showcase how real you were, right? And then there was vice signaling, and then there's always been an anti-intellectualist sentiment associated with this. But now there's something a little bit different than that. There's something on top of that. It is being grotesque. If your smell offends the sensibilities of people around you, that means you're counterculture, that means you're grotesque, and that means you're owning the libs, and that means the revulsion that people feel towards you is actually a good thing. And that's where we arrived at. It's basically like Asmongold is the equivalent of a person who like shits himself in a crowded area only to turn around and go, haha, you guys are smelling my shit. You are owned. You are owned by being in my presence. That is officially where we're at in American politics. It's anti-intellectual, which is held also as a virtue. Being against intellectual thought, being against logic and reasoning is seen as a fucking virtue. Being as edgy and as reactionary and as right-wing and as bigoted as possible is seen as a virtue, because all of those things combined offend people. All of those things combined invoke a negative reaction from people, your enemies specifically. You left out the QAnon era? No, I briefly touched on it as well. QAnon and the anti-vaxxers as well. And it is, I think, snowballed into being as offensive as you possibly can be. But that is where we're at officially. I think it's very interesting though. Like I don't think that this is a sustainable movement. A lot of people who are drama obsessed and have no other way of understanding politics outside of the framework of clout and drama constantly say, Hasan, you're so jealous that Asmongold is the top content creator. Asmongold has always been the top content creator on this platform. He's always been a bigger content creator than me. Him being the face of the modern online right is unironically a good thing, because I still think that there are enough people that live in the normal world and not online, even though online is increasingly taking up more and more space in our lives, that there are still enough people who live in the normal world that find that shit to be utterly repulsive and disgusting, understandably. So that becoming the face of the modern right, the online right, is ultimately is ultimately the last evolution of the online right. It doesn't get any worse than that. Does that make sense? I think it's ultimately a positive, because the likes of Ben Shapiro can traffic in mainstream circles just as easily as they can appear. As a matter of fact, easier in mainstream circles than they can on a PewDiePie video. Whereas if that is the role model of the face of the online right as it is now, as it's become now, that's unsustainable. These are people who do not go outside. There is 0% chance that that is a sustainable, long-term right-wing movement. So a lot of people mistake me laughing about Asmongold being the top right-wing content creator, but considering that I have political convictions, unlike many of my naysayers, and don't simply care about the clout, even though that is what they project upon me, and I simply see charitability and even more relevance, broad relevance, as a vehicle to approach a larger percentage of the population in a friendly manner with my politics, with the hopes that I can change their minds, with the hopes that I can convince them. Because I have a grander political objective in mind and political convictions that I care about more than anything else, that I see this as a wonderful gift, a wonderful natural evolution of reactionary sentiment, basically turning into this inevitable gross outcome. I think the alpha male thing needs to be reclaimed by normal people sticking up for people who can't stand up for themselves, racist, misogynists, or cowards mostly. I agree. I say that all the time. It is no measure of a strong man to tackle the vulnerable, to go after people who have less than them. That is a weak man. You're not a strong man if you do that. That's not how it works in movies. That's not how it works in literature. That is never how it's worked in the real world. Like, can you imagine having a strongman character designed around like one of these alpha male podcasters? It's a joke. They're a fucking joke. Basically any Daily Wire movie. No, even in Daily Wire movies, they try to like present themselves as victims. Not only do we have a crisis of stupids in this country, but we also have a group of people who just view everything from the lens of, does this offend the sensibilities of my opponents, my ideological opponents? And because they've presented liberals, this blob of liberalism, as like the elites that dominate society that are ruining everyone's lives, they think behaving in this like cringe manner and in this grotesque manner that offends the sensibilities of most people is still ultimately a good thing. It's almost like the online culture becoming taking a stronger foothold in the real world. What I mean by this is, in the past, you had trolls, and you still have them, that come in here, and trolls would present themselves in an incredibly stupid manner, right? They come in here and they would say something, and they still do, something incredibly dumb, right? And then every single person in the chat would dunk on that troll, myself included. And in the process, they'd turn around and go, "Ha, you mad? Are you mad? Oh, I've made you mad. I've won." Now, I think in the meat space, in the real world, people behave like that as well. The way they carry themselves and the way that they behave is grotesque by design, where they know that they're not liked. They like that you don't like them. They love that you are giving them negative attention. And I think that's precisely what Elon Musk does as well. The way he behaves, like the incredibly lame ways that he carries himself, that like truly have a visceral, guttural reaction in the likes of someone like myself and maybe yourself as well. When you see him like jump up and try to do the X, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Their simple appearance causes confusion in the minds of normal people. And I think they like that because I think they have like child brains, you know? It's like a child. Oh, I like a baby. I spilled my juice all over the place. Okay? I spilled my food everywhere, but now you're paying attention to me. Now you have to deal with this problem that I've created for you. And I think that's what a lot of these guys do. And then when they get yelled at for behaving this way, they turn around and self-victimize, where they say, oh, you just don't like real Americans. Oh, you don't like real patriots. Oh, you must not like me because I'm a patriot. Well, after years and years of you dominating my life, after years and years of you setting the standards of my existence, now I'm lashing out. Now I'm fighting back. The dog has caught the car. We run the show now. And that's the attitude that you hear from the likes of Asmongold all the time. There's this like attitude of vengeance, this revenge principle that they operate off of over there, where it's like, yeah, you can no longer bully us anymore. It's over. And it's like, I've never bullied you, man. until recently, I sat next to his stanky ass and did his fucking podcast. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't bullying him. I was actually quite sensible and nice. It's only now, after a metric ton of pain, do I actually, start taking off the kitty gloves a little bit. I think that these guys designed a universe where they were constantly under attack. And oftentimes this comes from like a place of tremendous privilege. You know, what pain has been caused, though, to be honest? What do you mean? He's the largest political content creator, and he has created a dangerous environment for trans people, for people of every different kind of background. He actively is promoting the Trump administration and bringing it here to a private space like Twitch and normalizing that kind of discourse, normalizing that kind of sentiment in the same exact ways that I have normalized, I guess, progressive values, except my normalization of progressive values does not actually end up causing harm to others. You know what I mean? Unless you are a fucking fascist. In which case, yeah, okay, that's fine.